Hello everyone, welcome to my channel, and in this lecture we are going to see the basic components of IC engine. So far we have covered what is a IC engine, what do you mean by internal combustion, and its basic operation. So in this lecture we are going to see what are all these components of IC engine and their functions in detail. So our first component is a cylinder block. So cylinder block is a main structure of an IC engine. In this figure, this is a cylinder block in which the pistons reciprocate in the linear motion. So inside the cylinder block, it comprises with a cylinder block and the cylinder head. So the cylinder head and cylinder block are tightly packed to avoid the leakages of air-fuel mixture during the cycle. This cylinder block and cylinder heads are tightly in place by using the nuts and bolts. In between, to avoid the leakages, there is a gasket is provided. So as you can see, this is a cylinder block. So the cylinder block also comprises of a sump which contains the lubrication. During the cycle, it provides the lubrication to all the moving parts. So this is the example of a single cylinder engine. But in the multi-cylinder engine, cylinder block is casted in one piece. So the next component is cylinder, or we can say that combustion chamber. So cylinder is nothing but a cylindrical vessels in which all the thermodynamic process happens. So in this case, this is a cylinder in which the pistons is reciprocating. In the cylinder, air-fuel mixture is admitted, it is compressed, the production of power happens because of the combustion process in the cylinder. The inside lining of this cylinder is finished with a high precision to avoid the friction between the cylinder walls and the pistons during the cycle. Our next component is a piston. So piston is nothing but a moving component, reciprocating component inside the cylinder which provides the power output to the crankshaft. So the piston is held snugly inside the cylinder to avoid the leakages of the air-fuel mixture during the cycle. It is incorporated with the piston rings which avoids the friction, which reduces the friction between the cylinder walls and the piston, also provides the lubrication. So there are different types of piston rings that we will cover in the separate lecture. Our next component is inlet and exhaust valves. So the inlet and exhaust valves are nothing but a mushroom-like moving components which are provided in the cylinder head. So the main function of inlet and exhaust valve is to admit the air-fuel mixture inside the combustion chamber, and the function of an exhaust valve or the outlet valve is to excrete the residual gases from the combustion engine to the outside. So this inlet valve and exhaust valve opens and closes at a specific time of the cycle. This closing and opening mechanism of the inlet and exhaust valves are operated by the camshaft. That we will discuss in the another lecture because it's a vast topic. So our next component is connecting rod. So connecting rod is a mechanical component which connects the pistons and the crank, which transmit the reciprocating power to the piston and converts it into the oscillatory motion. So this is the small end of the connecting rod which is connected to the piston by using the gudgeon pin. So this is a gudgeon pin, and the next end, which is a large end, is connected to the crank by using the crank pin. So this is a crank pin. So the connecting rod gets input from the piston and provides the output to the crank. So the motion of the connecting rod is a oscillatory motion, as we have discussed in our earlier lecture. So our next component is a crankshaft. So crankshaft is a component which converts the reciprocating motion of a piston into the rotary motion, which is then provided to the transmission of a vehicle, that we will see in the next lecture. So the main function of crank is to convert the reciprocating motion into the useful rotary motion. This is a crankshaft of an engine. So our next component is inlet and outlet manifold. Inlet and outlet manifold. So the inlet manifold is a component which connects the inlet system to the inlet wall. So the main function of the inlet manifold is to admit the air fuel mixture, the mixture of air and fuel, to the inlet of the engine. And our next topic is outlet manifold, which also called as a exhaust manifold. So the function of the exhaust manifold is which is connected at the exhaust system of an engine, which transfers the burned gas inside the combustion chamber outside the engine. So these components are the main components which are common along the various types of engine, but there are some components which differs as per the type of the engine, such as this is a spark plug. So the main function of a spark plug is to provide the spark at the end of the compression stroke to provide the ignition. So the spark plug is only applicable for the SI engine, which is a spark ignition engine, in which the fuel type is a petrol. We will see the SI engine in brief in our next lecture. There is a one component that is left, which is a sump. So sump is nothing but a tank which contains the lubricant. So this lubricant is provided to the moving parts of the engine to reduce the friction. So there is a protrusion which is provided to the crank, so that because of this protrusion there is a splash. So this lubricant is then splashed on the moving parts of the engine. So there is a piston ring which carries the lubricant, provides the lubrication between the wall of the cylinder and the piston. So for lubrication, types of lubrication, the types of lubricant used, that we will see in the separate video. So for now we have covered the main components of an IC engine and their working. In the next lecture we will see the nomenclature of the IC engine in brief. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and also don't forget to ring the notification bell for further content. Thanks for watching.